Hello, welcome to Real Television on YouTube. My name is Spencer, and if this video is appearing on your screen, then it's materialized right when you needed it to. That's how spirit works. Let me just tell you. Because I didn't really feel like I was ready to do this video yet, but spirit's like, no, get your ass off the bed and start recording. So I'm like, okay, I won't question that. I'm just gonna do it and see where this takes me. So I apologize if there's any like hesitations or anything like that, or like long second or not seconds, but long sections of silence, just because I'm still getting used to the camera. So I apologize about that. But this channel is basically just a channel where I give messages from spirit regarding the messages that are in the stories that we watch and what we listen to and what we read, stuff like that, that can actually be connected back to spirit. So with that being said, this channel is just that, just sharing the lessons that I see in stories, and spirit has asked me to do that. So with that being said, we're going to be talking about DragonHeart today, which is one of my all-time favorite childhood movies, mostly just because there's a dragon in it. At least that's my inner child saying that's why we liked it in the first place, but we didn't know exactly why until fairly recently, why that is. And I'll get to sharing that in a minute. But with that being said, the movie itself, it does have some layers in the mundane world of things, of lessons that we can learn. And those are definitely still important, but the spiritual ones are just as important as well. So with that being said, some of the lessons that you can probably glean just from the story itself is, you know, being true to your heart and not sharing your energy with other people that might misuse your good intentions or something like that, you know, whatever it is. But let's just go ahead and do that. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about any like good news for the week, and I kind of wanted to make it a weekly thing where you kind of share what is going on in your week that's been good for you, just to kind of get that vibration up a little bit for like good news, because gratefulness is actually one of the most powerful vibrations according to what I've learned recently. So that's one way to kind of cultivate a good community for the channel. So I'll start with mine. I got the go-ahead from work to get a tattoo right here, but it's going to be about like this big. But it's a tattoo that's really spiritual for me, as well as it's connected to both the real world and spiritual. So I'll show you when I get it, but it's going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. But I'm getting it the day after my birthday in the end of June, so I'm excited. And yes, I'm a Cancer, Gemini cusp person, so I get a little bit of both of those astrological symbols in my personality. So, but obviously I've got a tiny bit of Leo here because I'm sharing my face, which is true. I'm not, you know, it's in my chart. I can share it eventually if people want to see it, but I've got a little bit of Leo, and I've got Scorpio as my moon sign. Haven't really looked into what that means for me yet, but I know the rising sign and the sun sign for me is also Gemini, so it's a lot of Gemini, let me tell you. Clearly, because I'm rambling, but sorry, my mic might have cut out there, but I don't really care. Anyway, that's my good news. Go ahead and share in the comments what your good news is, because I would love to hear it. I love hearing about the accomplishments of other people. I just feel like a lot of the times too, the world is judgmental. Like people get really jealous about people's accomplishments and compare their own journeys to somebody else's. And the saying, comparison is the thief of joy, comes to mind immediately regarding that. So just take that with a grain of salt. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about the messages I received while meditating on this film. I'll go ahead and put like on the side here, like some synchronicities that I noticed during the film, and it might be a short list, so feel free to pause if you need to. But with that being said, the first thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, I wrote it down here. Let me open it up. So let's see. My chicken scratch. I'm going to have so hard of a time trying to read this, but it's okay. So when I was meditating, the first thing that popped into my mind, like I heard it auditorially in my mind, of the line where Bowen says, Einan, no, like Einan just charges into the battle at the beginning of the movie after he sees that his dad is trapped, the king is trapped, with the peasants surrounding him and everything. The insight that I got from that is you can't save people from themselves in real life or spiritually. Even if you know exactly what it is that they need to heal, all you can do is be there and be willing to teach them or be open to helping them if they want it. Because ultimately you do have to want something like this. You are not just going to be given like signs or manifestations coming without putting in the work. So that means shadow work. You have to look at what you've done and how you've reacted to things and how you can improve. It's basically self-improvement, but on a higher scale, if that makes sense. Not that it's better than anything else, but it's just, it's the best thing I can think of is just like a knight especially with the old code in this movie, that has stuck with me since I was a kid. Honor and truth, especially truth, is very important to me, and I'm a very honest person. And I try to stick with that all the time, even if it is not at my detriment. So I try my best. I'm not perfect and nobody else is, but I try not to lie about anything. Even if it's just like a little white lie, I end up feeling like really bad about it. And I'm like, I should really tell him, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And I've just stopped doing that. So, but yeah, that's that part. Let's see. Is there anything else that Spirit wants me to tell about that? I don't feel anything regarding that. So we should be able to move on. The second thing here is people will manipulate your good nature if it benefits them. And when you find out, it feels like a betrayal because you had the right intentions, but they were too in their own darkness to see a way out as helpful. It makes them feel inferior. Their pride/ego have become unbalanced with their inner light / their potential smothered to barely a whisper. And I would not have written it like that. And I know nobody knows how I write, but I personally know I would not have written it like that. So take it as you will. Take what resonates and leave what does not, of course. And the next quote that kind of came up, well, not the next quote, but the quote that is in line with that, I forgot to mention, is the part where, what is it? I see the scene in my mind, but it's the part where Draco's singing to the young redhead girl on the rock, and Bowen comes by and he starts fighting with him because he left him there and all that stuff. But then Einan comes up and Draco hides in the waterfall. So the part where Bowen and Einan are fighting the sword fight right there, the line, it said, I vomited them up because I couldn't stomach them, because I knew it was what you wanted to hear. So it ties in line with that darkness of oh, I don't believe this, but he does, and I need his help. So I'm going to use him and tell him I believe that so that they take me to get help. That kind of thing. Because at the beginning of the movie, he gets injured near death's door, dies, and then Draco saves him, but only because they think he's going to honor the old code. So take that as you will. I'm not sure if that made sense. Hopefully it did. But the next part of that is they clamor for your light or any light to try and pull themselves out, but only push themselves deeper because of their inability to seek inside themselves to see what's broken, what needs to be healed. And that's something I kind of wanted to talk about too, because in my opinion, like, the world is the way that it is because of trauma. Everyone has their own kind of trauma, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people's trauma affect them a lot more than they let on, or that they think they know it affects them. You know, like, I don't even know how to explain that, but just the saying that comes up is hurt people hurt people. So I feel like every time someone does something negative, like manipulate or a negative comment either about themselves or somebody else, I really do think that it's just them reaching out for help. And unfortunately, if they don't want the help, all you can do is just be there and ignore them. It kind of reminds me, now that I think about it, I feel prompted to talk about this. I don't know why. But I used to work for a company where I started off as a customer service rep for like technical difficulties and whatnot. And, you know, as customer service roles are, they sometimes get the odd customer that is very irate, and you have to sit there and try to de-escalate. And so with that being said, people like that, they take it out on you because they're stressed out. They don't know how to handle the stress. And so they take it out on you and be like, this is your fault. You don't know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. No, it's them projecting. It's projection, literally, because that's what they're going through. If you sit there and think about it like that and just be as calm as possible, trying to comfort them and say, hey, we're going to get this taken care of for you. Sometimes that doesn't work, but I've had the few times where I'll answer the phone and they're very irate, and I just say, I do apologize, sir, madam, them, whatever, doesn't matter. I'll say, you know, something like, I do apologize for this. This shouldn't be happening for you. I do apologize for what you're going through, and blah, blah, blah. Just kind of word it in a way that it appeals to their emotions and helps them feel calm. At least that's how I used to do it. And a lot of the times at the end of the call, they'll apologize and be like, I'm so sorry for the way I'm acting. I'm just really stressed out right now. I don't know how to get this fixed. And I usually tell them it's okay, you know, because it's really not because you're taking it out on somebody, but you do want them to feel okay and say like, hey, it's okay. That's what I'm here for. We're going to get this taken care of for you. That kind of thing. So it's kind of the same thing when it comes to life. If somebody comes up to you and starts questioning, like, why are you wearing that? Or starts advancing on you in some way that makes you feel uncomfortable, for example, you kind of just have to be nice and, you know, put your boundaries up, that kind of thing. And if they don't, then you just have to have somebody else get involved so that those boundaries are kept, you know. I'm not sure if I don't know how that's related, but apparently I've been prompted to say that. But moving on to the next thing here is, what's the character's name? The priest, the Brother Gilbert. My bad, I forgot what his name was. The quote where he's sitting there riding on his donkey and he's writing something down, and he says, "My quest is spiritual." Just makes me laugh. And then he falls off the horse, or the mule, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what animal that is. I know it's not a horse though. So when he falls off his steed, he says, everyone's a critic, that kind of thing. So the things that came to mind when I was meditating on that is, there's always going to be people that want to tear you down. Use you. My bad. I couldn't read my writing for a second. Or use you to get what they want. Power, greed, even just relationships. Surround yourself with people who care about you and return the favor, not because you have to, but because you are, but because you care about them just as much. Love is much more than just a feeling. It's a binding force. You, or your will incarnate. Sorry, I cannot read today. My chicken scratch is really bad. Your desire as a force for good. It's the one side of the coin to hate. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to run into people no matter where you are in life, what you're doing. You're going to run into somebody that just hates you for no reason, or just hates what you're doing for no reason. It's not you. It's literally them. So it's like I'm getting the prompting to talk about the heart relationship with Einan and Draco, but the reason that Bowen thought that Draco's heart, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the frick, I can't remember what it's called, but it's corrupted, I guess is the better word. That's not exactly the one I was gonna use, but Bowen originally thought that Draco's heart corrupted Einan because of the quarry situation, and he, pulled him off his horse and being like, have you forgotten everything I've taught you? That kind of thing. So, like, ignoring the choice to be good, if that makes sense. It's not the person who gave their heart, literally in this case, for you to get to a better place, or like their service or whatever, to help you. Like if you're, for example, if you're moving somewhere or whatever and you drop everything and help them, but when you ask for help, they don't do anything. That's what I'm talking about. It's not that they're evil. It's just that they haven't realized their actions yet, if that makes sense. But then there's the people who know exactly what they're doing that you have to be really careful about. So just be careful who you give your heart to. Protect your energy, protect your mental health, very, very important. Next thing is sometimes ending a relationship, like Bowen and Draco at the end, has to be severed because it was toxic to yourself and those around you. It ripples out like a snide remark after a terrible day at work to your partner because of another coworker's attitude. Letting it fester in you because you let yourself get stuck in their mud. You can't do anything with spoiled earth. Nothing will grow there. No good can come from it. This leads back to my first point, though. You can't help everyone. But that doesn't mean that you give up on them immediately. You always hope for a better future for yourself and others. That's super important, because you can't just cut somebody off and not wish them the best, because you're cutting them off for your own safety, for your own good, protecting your mental health, because you're not going to sit there and take their bullshit. Excuse my language, sorry, but not sorry. Like, you're not going to sit there and take their bullshit day after day, like, for example, if it's a relationship where you're with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, and they start telling you like, why didn't you wake me up? And it's your fault, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But you weren't told to wake them up, I don't know. That's just an example here, but I'm just kind of talking off the cuff with that. But in regards to my own experience with this, there's been quite a few people in my life who have done that. And I gave and gave and gave and just did not benefit in any way from that. So for one, I was married for about 6 months, and we had broken up, gotten back together, broken up, gotten back together several times. And I was Mormon. I dated this man for 2 years, which is actually quite a long time for Mormonism. Ideally, we probably would have gotten married in 6 months. I'm going to tell you that. Proposed in 3, married at 6, probably. At least where I came from, it was like that. There would be people where, oh, we're lovey-dovey, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, my God, he proposed. And I'm like, you've only been together for 2 months. What are you talking about? You know, like, are you nuts? Personally, I thought that was nuts. There's a lot of things that I didn't agree with the Mormon church. So I'm going to leave it at that. But there's also another person that I legit thought was going to be my partner for the rest of the life of my life. And it really sucked to have them just turn around and be like, here's all your stuff. Goodbye. No explanation whatsoever. That really hurt. I'm not going to lie. That really made me spiral in a bad way. But I am grateful for it though, because without that, I wouldn't have realized who I am. And it wouldn't have set me off onto a spiritual path, because that was technically one of the first things that set me onto a spiritual path, because he was spiritual at first, I should say, because then he went straight back to Mormonism after me. So I'm like, oh, did I really fuck you up or something? Like, what happened? I didn't do anything bad, I don't think. And I took the time to heal from that relationship. And, you know, I don't even know how to explain that. I don't know why I was prompted to talk about this much, but I'm going with it. So I really took a deep look at my actions in the relationship and what possibly could have set it off that way, because we had gone to California a few times, just as a couple to hang out and chill. Went to a couple bars here and there. There was actually a really fun dog bar down there in San Diego. That's really cool. If I can remember what it is, I'll put it in the comments if people want to know. But like, that was such a cool bar. I'm not going to lie. Like, they didn't have a whole lot to eat. It was literally just a bunch of different like IPAs and different beers and stuff like that. There was no like regular liquor, stuff like that. But they did have karaoke that night when we went in, and I sang my heart out. It was so fun. I don't remember what I sang, but I got a standing ovation. But yeah, with that being said, that was that relationship. And the other thing, because I have both examples clearly. I have, well, 2 examples for the romantic portion and then 1 for the platonic. So fairly recently, I ended a 2 or 3 year friendship that, well, one is longer than the other, but to put it simply, it was a 3-year relationship after a hiatus of about 10 years with one person in that relationship. So one of them I knew since high school. The other one I had met 3 years ago. So let's just put that out there. Now, these ex-friends of mine, I do wish them the best. I do. And if they ever see this, I'm not trying to badmouth you or anything. This is an example and this is meant to be learned from. So I apologize if this is offensive. But for me, I felt like I was putting in a lot more effort in the friendship than they were. And I felt manipulated. I'm not going to lie. Because I would sit there and help them with things when they asked me to. And I would make sure that most of my stuff was at least against the walls, because I had so much stuff. I didn't have money to put anything into storage. And I was trying to figure out what to do with all of it. Some of it I sold. I even sold my cello at one point to help pay bills for the place. And I only got $500 out of it. But it's fine. Like, I'm not salty. I'm just saying, like, that's the amount that it was. But yeah, I felt like the rug was pulled out from under me, where I moved in at a certain agreed rent price. And then other things just kept piling up. And I didn't say anything. I just kept going with it. It was my fault for not saying anything, you know, like, of course, it's not my fault per se. That's not necessarily the word I wanted to go with, but I wanted to kind of, you know, say that, because a lot of the times if you don't have boundaries, people are going to walk over you. And I know this, unfortunately, from experience. You can do so much for you, but they're going to drain you energy wise, financially, possibly. Yeah, I guess you could say that's classified as an energy vampire. Could be wrong, but I am still learning. I'm still the student, but I am teaching. So I'm a little bit of both. Um, so that's what I kind of wanted to talk about there. I was prompted during meditation to talk about all of those. So I apologize if that seems a little too vulnerable for anybody, but not sorry at the same time. So the next thing here is you don't have to just survive. You can thrive under the right circumstances. Standing up for what's right is always going to help yourself and the greater good. It also ripples outward. Send good out to balance the dark/bad. Even if it's just smiling at someone at the store, which is not what I would have said. I would have said, when I wrote this down, I'm like, I would not have said that. I would have said, even if it's just doing something good for yourself at home. That's literally what I would have put. But Spirit told me, no, you're going to put this. So I did that. The next thing here is how Einan treats the redheaded girl. I forget her name right now. I'm so sorry. If somebody knows the name of the character, tell me in the comments so I don't forget. But this is kind of an example of, well, this next one is sort of an example of how somebody who hurts and then finds somebody who has the guts to defy them or not be afraid of them, or is just something that they like aren't expecting and they don't know how to manipulate it yet. This next one is about that. So like specifically the part where he's trying to shoot the arrows at her while she's trying to give her father a drink of water at the quarry. And the message is, people don't know what to do with your kindness. They think it's false, but then realize you're the real deal. That makes them feel or self-sabotage by pushing you away or trying to control you. So like, for example, in the movie, he finds her attractive. You can see it in his eyes when he first sees her. He's like, why are you so defiant? I'm gonna see what you want and see what's going on here. So like, why are you so kind? Why are you begging? You know, that kind of thing. I don't know how to explain that, but hopefully you get what I mean. It's like, as soon as he figured out that she kept coming for him, it's almost like he misinterpreted what she was angry about or what she wanted, and kind of thought, oh, you know what? Maybe she likes me because that's the only thing he knows. He grew up with an abusive father. Like, what else is he going to do? You know? And unfortunately, you know, people like that don't learn until you start putting up boundaries and saying, hey, we need to go to therapy, or you know, that kind of thing. Or until they figure out, oh, actually, all these people ignore me because actually it's me that's the problem. That kind of thing. Not sure if that's even like what Spirit wanted me to say, but clearly it did. I don't know. But the next thing is, systems cannot control us unless we stop caring about each other. That's why there are groups that pit us against each other to separate and make us afraid of others and ourselves. Now, this one's a little more political than I wanted, but it definitely came in strong because of the dichotomy of Draco and the people being much stronger than Einan and his lackeys, you know? Like, despite having that connection, it's a false connection of, like, I don't know if this makes sense, but this is how it's coming into my mind, of, like, the false connection of the people and power, represented with Draco and Einan. So, like, Einan thinks he has all the power and controls the people because the dragon is usually, in certain contexts, represented as a power hoarder, if that makes sense, which is why he's connected with him at the heart of it, and that he misinterprets the heart that he was given. He misinterprets what his true purpose was, as far as being the heart of the people, the voice of the people, you know? just because he didn't understand. He didn't take the time to understand the gift he was given by Draco and squandered it, essentially, which is what he says in the movie. Draco says something like, he polluted the heart, is what he said, I think. He was yelling at Bowen with that. But, and he's like, how do you know that, dragon? How do you know? And he's like, all dragons know that. What do you mean? Do you know what I mean? Hopefully you're picking up what I'm, excuse me, confirmation burp, what I'm putting down. But with that being said, the last thing that I got out of the DragonHeart message of the movie is, if we allow ourselves to get stuck in negative patterns, what does that say? Oh, my bad. It prevents us from gliding in our true power. So let me reread that again in case it wasn't clear. If we allow ourselves to get stuck in negative patterns, it prevents us from gliding in our true power, like a dragon. It's literally all it is. But yeah, it's super important that we don't get stuck in the negative and are able to kind of slough it off, dust our shoulders off, dust our pants off, get up and keep going, that kind of thing. There will be setbacks in life. There will be times where you revert back to old patterns, but that doesn't mean that you're not worthy of good or love or time to yourself. For some reason, I'm asked to say that. But if we are able to push past these negative patterns, it will ripple outward, and other people will be guided to be themselves too and heal. Softness in this world doesn't seem to be given the right that it's due. If somebody like myself would rather be kind to somebody if they're being mean to me, which is literally how I operate. It's not that I'm a pacifist, but I don't believe getting mad at somebody for getting mad about something is the right way to do it, because clearly hurt people hurt people. But that doesn't mean that you don't defend yourself in some way by removing yourself from the situation, or, just being truthful in that situation. Depending on what's happening, of course. If you're queer and somebody's being super transphobic to you or something, definitely keep your safety in mind first. That's very important. But with that being said, that's the lessons I got from the movie, and was prompted to share. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about to close this off is the book that I'm writing. Well, I'm actually writing a couple of books, but the one I'm writing is pertaining to this channel, and it's kind of a blueprint, if that makes sense, to help with people wanting that higher perspective, wanting to awaken. But if you subscribe and like and share the video, it helps get this message out to those who might need it too, in addition to supporting the publication of this book. This one might be self-published. I'm not sure how Spirit wants me to deal with that, but we're just writing it right now. But I did want to get that out there so that others might be able to see and support the channel in its endeavor to get the message out to people about how to awaken using things that I've been through. Not that my experience is the end all be all to things. Of course it's not. There's other ways to do it, but this is just something I've been prompted to share that I'm working on. So definitely subscribe, comment if you want to. You don't have to. I'm going to be curating the comments to make sure that the community is a welcoming space, and getting rid of legit troll comments if I see them quick enough, just so that we can provide people with a space to ask questions if they are legit trying to ask about what's going on and how to get there, while trying to weed out the actual people who are trying to pollute the space with negative energy, or negative thought patterns, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. I prefer to call it energy just because everything's energy. We're all made up of the same stuff, which is carbon, just different densities, in my opinion. So with that being said, I appreciate if you've gotten to the end of the video here. It's kind of probably a long one, but I don't really mind. And hopefully you don't either, and you stuck around for the messages that Spirit relayed. But with that being said, I'll just go ahead and cut it off here and say my little tagline of keep your mind and hearts open always. Peace.